whenever you set your sights on a really big goal, for example, selling the house, retiring early and going to live on a boat, there's always going to be things that get in the way, especially as you get nearer to the time. And I just found that this morning. This morning I was out and about. I saw a couple of properties just around the corner from me, literally the same style property. We live in an end of terrace. These were semi-detached properties. One of them had sold and one was up for the same price as the one that had sold. And unfortunately, they were both priced way, way below what we have been told that we could get by our estate agent or the potential estate agent. Now, I know that some people had said that our estate agents always inflate the price to make you go with them. And, I think that's possibly what's happened. Our thinking was, if we could clear £100,000 after selling the house and paying off our mortgage, then all the figures add up really, really well. Especially now, we've decided to stay local, go on live on a boat, which we know that we can get for a lot less than we would have purchased a property for in France. But then I saw these properties for sale and I thought, here we go. What if we don't sell the house for anywhere near what we were expecting to get for it? What happens if we only end up with 50k equity? Which would be an absolute worst case scenario. I don't think any property has sold in our area for that amount. I think we should be close to the 100k equity, but what we were kind of told by the estate agent was they reckon they could get a hell of a lot more. The other thing that happened as well was on Friday, the stock market, bearing in mind during the week there'd been a lot of talk by a spokesperson from JP Morgan and also from the Bank of England, saying that the AI bubble and tech stocks are going to dive within the next 6 months. They almost set it up, didn't they? And what happened on Friday? Markets dropped, especially tech markets in the US, and also the FTSE was affected as well, dropped by up to 2%. So over the weekend, plus seeing these properties, I thought, what I need to do is I need to think, okay, what can I influence? What can I do something about? What can I affect? Well, I can't affect the markets and I can't affect house prices. So, I can't change those. I can't do anything about those. But what I can do is I can look at our budget and do that straight away and see whether we can still afford, if we only get 50k equity and the markets drop by a drastic amount and I lose a lot of my pension money before I even take it next year, what can I do? Well, what I can do is I can work it out on paper, I can have a look at it, and then I can have a look at whether our income stacks up enough still to do what we want to do. And then I thought, well, perhaps we can downsize even more if we have to. So that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm not going to panic about it. I haven't gone through the figures yet. I'm going to do that in a second, and then I'm going to come right back to you. So give me a sec. I'm going to go and sort that out, and then I'll come back and run through the numbers with you. Right, I've got my cup of coffee and I've been working out the figures. I've been going through my spreadsheet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a couple of little numbers on my handy whiteboard that I've got here. Let's see if we can get this on camera properly. Right, so what I've done, hopefully you can hear me okay. So we've got a handy little whiteboard. So basically what I did is I've accounted for the 50,000. So let's say property sells and we get 50k equity. And then what I've also done is currently I've got a 70-30 split. So I've got a 70-30 split on my investments. 70% is in kind of short-term money market funds, which don't fluctuate with the markets. Basically what they do is they pay a dividend, which goes up and down. These 30% here is equities, and they do go up and down. So they can go up and down with the markets, and they have done. So I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow for a 20% drop on the markets. Now, that would be like a major crash. So they all dropped by about 2%. It's quite a big drop. It wasn't actually anywhere near the original Trump tariffs that were introduced in March or April this year. But this is again as a result of him wanting to introduce China tariffs. So again, he's majorly influenced the market. So I can't affect that. Can't do anything about that. But as I say, what I can do is I can make sure that I'm cushioned against it, which is luckily what I'd already done by moving my money into 70-30. It's actually 66-34, but it's not too bad. So out of my 34%, which will be 34% of 160,000, whatever that is, let's work that out. 160,000, 34%. 54,400. If I take 20% off of that, minus 20%, that takes me down to 143,520. So back to my little whiteboard. So I've got 40. So let's say I've got 160 times 34%. So I had 54,000. Here, I get some real numbers now. 54,400 in equities, and that's like S&P 500, basic indices like FTSE 100, that sort of stuff. And then I've got the remainder, which will be 160 times 66%, is I've got 105,600 in, let's say, bonds. It's not bonds, but it's kind of, they're secure, right? They're not susceptible to market volatility. So if I take that 54,400 minus 20% gives us 43,520, and then so 43,520, add that to my 105,600. Hopefully you can see this all right. 105,600 gives me 149,120 instead of 160, right? So basically that's about 10 grand kind of lost, if you like. So when I worked out on the income wise, it doesn't really affect our income at all. I think it makes it so that we're about, £5 a month worse off. It really doesn't make a massive amount of difference. So, even with the 50,000, so with that worked out, and then with the 50,000 less on the property, if we sold it for that, funny enough, the prices, when I've just thought about it, and there's me panicking, the prices that we were told that the house might sell for by the estate agents was way over, which would have actually given us, if we'd have sold them for that amount, we would have probably got about 150,000 equity. So it would have been way over anyway. So if they sold for, if it sells for the same as those other ones around the corner have sold for, in fact ours is a bigger footprint, it's not semi-detached, but it's got a conservatory, it's got an outhouse, outbuilding, so it's a lot more footprint and bigger garden, so we should be okay. Even if it sells for that low, what those other ones have sold for, then we should clear almost 100,000 equity, so that should be okay. But what I've done is I've put into my figures 50k equity, and I've allowed for a 20% drop in the markets before I'm able to take my 25% next year. I hope it doesn't. I'm confident it won't, because if it does the same as what it did in April, then we're now April, May, June, July, August, so we're like 5 months. So it's about 5 months till I take my 25%. Ideally, I can always delay it. I don't have to take it immediately, but I kind of want to, because I want to get things started. But as an example, when the markets dropped, when Trump did his tariffs originally, in March or April, the markets have picked up and gone beyond that since. So, and that was only in 5 months. So if it does the same and it picks up, then we should be okay. It should be all right. And I should have even more of a pot than to worry about any sort of accounting for any loss. So that's good. Glad I did that exercise. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get myself into a mindset, whereas if there's things that I really can't do anything about, then I just forget about them, leave those, and deal with the things that I can deal with. Otherwise, you end up imagining all sorts of scenarios that you just can't do anything about and getting yourself into a stupor. And it's easy done with such a big decision. So I'm also very aware that there's people out there that don't have a property to sell and maybe don't even have any savings or a pension. So I am fortunate. These are very different problems to have. In a way, it's kind of nice problems to have, really, because there are some people that don't have anything like that, and I do get that. So it's really just a short update on how I'm developing the mindset going forward, and how I'm dealing with problems head on when they come up and when they do arise, which I know they will do. It's only about 160 days odd till I can really get things started. So not that I'm counting or anything. Anyway, in the meantime, appreciate all your support. I appreciate all of your very polite comments about the previous video where I was doing some experimental music. I know it didn't land well. When I listened back to it, it's really quite distracting. So as I say, I was just trying some stuff out. Going forward, I'll take all that on board. I may introduce some music, but I won't do it over my talking next time. I appreciate you bearing with me. I hope you have a great Sunday night, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.